Welcome back to part 2 of our conversation with Jeffrey Gitomer, where he tells us the key to developing a great attitude, in addition to why you need to be Googleable. Don't go anywhere. Part 2 is just around the corner.
Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Thor Conklin here. We give you the tricks, the tips, the tools, the strategy, the technology, and the psychology peak performers use in order to get more done and execute at the highest level. If you know what to do but struggle with getting it all done, or simply want to raise your game to the next level, this podcast is for you. Sit back and enjoy. You know, we were talking about attitude, and I think it's so important. It's so important with your employees that you're looking to hire, and then just that energy that it exudes when you go out into the marketplace. There was a person that worked for me for years that was brilliant, did a great job, but there was just something that I just couldn't put my finger on. I finally realized they just had a shitty attitude. Mm-hmm. And they pissed me off all the time, but yet they were doing a good job work-wise. What are some of the keys to developing a great attitude?
Well, let me be a little bit self-aggrandizing for the moment.
Yeah.
I wrote the book that you held up, the little gold book of Yes Attitude. There's a new edition of it out now. I'll probably have to send you an autographed copy of it since I'm bragging about it. But I think that people have to study attitude in order to understand why they're positive and why they're negative. And I deemed it yes attitude because when something great happens, you don't scream positive. When something great happens, you scream yes, or some form of yes. And that's what the premise of the book is. And if people don't dedicate themselves to some kind of education with respect to their attitude, then they're going to watch negative things and talk negative things. You know, you sit down next to somebody and they'll tell you why their shoes didn't fit, or why their train was late, or why their airplane was 4 hours late and it was raining. That's not what I want to hear. I want to hear what went right with the day, and that's not going to make a lot of newscasts. So I ignore those things, and I try to concentrate on what will earn me something, or what will help other people, or a random act of kindness, or making somebody smile. Those are the things that I focus on, and some people just need to take a happy pill. That guy you're talking about needed to take a happy pill. And you could just give him a thing of M&Ms and go, listen, dude, you're not smiling enough. You're not happy enough. Here's some M&Ms. Consider them happy pills. And every time you're in a pissed off mood, take one to remind yourself that you're in a pissed off mood. And when the jar's empty, come get me. I have more.
I like it. What about selling mistakes? What do you see out there? First of all, I'm gonna preface this saying professional salespeople, which I think is a very small group of people. But what are the mistakes that people are making?
I'm a friendly sales guy. I'm not as professional as I would profess to be. I walk into some place and I want to be friends with them.
Yeah, but yes, but you have honed your craft. You have honed. You show up in a genuine, real way.
Agreed, and I'm relaxed.
And you're absolutely relaxed. And from what I've seen you, I haven't been on the other side of a sales pitch, or you trying to sell something to me, but I see that you're always trying to figure out how to meet the needs of the people that you're talking to.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
My sales mantra is people don't like to be sold, but they love to buy. And if I can create a buying atmosphere, which you do through asking questions, not giving a pitch, then you immediately turn the conversation to one where the customer is the proactive one, the customer is the responsive one, and the customer is the forthcoming one with respect to needs. The more you pitch, the less you can know about the other person, whether they even like you or need you or have a feeling for you. And why are you selling me this anyway if you don't even know what I need?
Yeah.
Or more importantly, why I need it. If you know why I need it, then the whole presentation turns into a question festival that ends up in a sale.
It was fascinating. About a month and a half ago, someone asked me to come into their office. They had some issues with their company. They wanted to hire us. For about an hour and a half, they spoke. I just listened. And then in 3 sentences, I just recapped what they said to me. Mm-hmm. That was it. And they said, you're hired.
Yeah, I learned something early on. People would call me for a seminar, and I would say, this is really amazing. Let's set another call, and can you please send me like 4 or 5 bullet points, maybe even 10 bullet points of what you want the audience to walk away with, and let's see if we meet each other's needs. What they would do is they would send me an email of exactly how they wanted to be sold. I literally exactly. And all I had to do is, say, I can do this and I can customize it for you. And they'll say, okay, great, you're hired.
Done. They buy.
Once you know their motive, once you understand their reason, and more importantly, once you understand what the outcome needs to be. People don't focus on outcome as much as they should. What happens after I buy the car? What happens after I install the air conditioner? What happens after I own the life insurance policy? That's the most important part of the deal. What happens upon ownership or after ownership? And that's where you have to focus the sale.
And I find
the buying atmosphere, by the way.
Yeah, and you know what I find also, Jeffrey, is that many times the client or prospective client doesn't understand what they're truly after. They haven't dug down deep enough, and it's all through questions that you start to discover really what their motivations are and what their outcomes are.
If I was going to sell a home to somebody, and that's a pretty big sale. Sometimes it's $500,000 or $1 million. But whatever it is, the real estate person, I don't know whether you've dealt with many real estate people or not, but they're the smartest people in the world. They're actually smarter than car salespeople, if that's possible. But don't take my word for it. Just ask them. And they will try to ask what are known as qualifying questions. Do you have a mortgage? Are you pre-approved for a mortgage? Do you have a home for sale? Like, what are you asking me that for? Well, I'm just trying to help you. No, you're not. You're trying to find out about my wallet. Don't try to find out about my wallet. Why don't you try to find out about me? So if you came to me and said, Jeffrey, we're looking for a home, I would say, Thor, can you take a couple minutes and tell me about the bedroom that you grew up in?
Wow.
Now think about that question, because you know about it right now. If your parents are still alive, you're thinking about that, or if they passed on, you're thinking about that. If you have a sibling, you're thinking about the fights that you had in the bedroom. And I'm going to ask you if that's the kind of bedroom that you'd like for your kids. Whoa. Now you have to take a cup of coffee from me because you're emotionally exhausted, and we've only been talking to each other for 5 minutes.
Yeah, and I went there, and you were just giving it as an example.
Course. Yeah, of course. Then I'm going to give you a list of things there's 20 things on a paper with check boxes next to them, and one to the man and one to the woman. And I'm going to say, please check on here what you have to have in a house. And then give me the paper back. Don't look at the other guy. This is a test. What do you have to have? And then now I'm armed with 2 things. Number 1, emotional engagement. And number 2, what they're hoping for. Yeah. So I'm not going to take them on a wild goose chase. I think you might like this home. No. This home has what you're looking for. And I'm going to ask questions that would engage the other person rather than try to tell the other person and show them how smart I am. For example, you walk into the bedroom and you say, this is the master bedroom. It's 17 by 19. And I'll say, really? I have a tape measure on me. Let's see how big it really is. Because if it's not 17 by 19, you're fired. Or the salesperson could say, where will the television go? Will all your furniture fit in here? Are you going to buy new furniture? Then I'm going to go to the closet, the most important part of a home to a woman. And I'm not going to say this is a walk-in closet, like duh. I'm going to say, will all your clothing fit in here? Because if it won't fit in there, the woman has automatically checked this house off the list. Correct?
Yes.
So in 2 questions, I'm going to know whether this is a home for them or not.
What do they need? What do they want?
Bingo. And how's that going to affect them? So now as a salesperson, I'm smarter. I'm going to make sure that my use of time is reduced to something that only they will accept. And I don't care about their budget. They'll spend another $100,000 if I can show them what they want.
Right.
In a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's that it's easy to talk about it from a real estate perspective or from a car perspective because they're big ticket items.
I think you've missed your calling. You
I
got
should
a
be in
whole
sales?
other career in the real estate market.
Right.
They're going to be calling you. Jeffrey, we need you, man. We need you.
It's funny to me how unqualified salespeople are who try to qualify the buyer.
Is it the real estate market calling? Did you sell a house?
No, it's not. Hold on, here we go. It's amazing to me how many unqualified salespeople try to ask questions of a buyer to qualify them.
I love that.
Period.
So if you happen to hearing this instead of seeing the actual video, Jeffrey right now is making a note in his phone.
No, I'm tweeting it.
Oh, you're tweeting it?
Yeah.
Brilliant. I love it. That's what you got to do. Now,
hashtag Gitomer, hashtag qualify, hashtag sales. Boom, gone.
I love it.
I mean, you have to look for that opportunity. Number one, I've preserved what I've said.
Yeah.
But number two, I've also sent it out to 112,000 people.
Right. Brilliant.
That gets response, that gets retweets, and that gets me new followers.
Yeah. You know, speaking of which, your business has evolved over the years. Technology has changed.
Yep.
You've evolved.
My gosh.
What are some of the things that you've seen that have really been game changers? Because what I find is, especially some of the younger entrepreneurs, they're always into what's new and hot, right? And they forget about some of the tried and true and the things that really work over time. What changes have you seen, and what are some of the things that you used to do that might actually be some good strategies today?
Well, let me begin by saying that old guys don't want to do what young guys do, and vice versa.
Yeah.
The young guy doesn't even want to pick up the phone. He wants to email. And the old guy wants to pick up the phone, and he doesn't want to go online and tweet. Or he'll be on LinkedIn, but he doesn't know what to do with it. And I think that there has to be a blend of that. Give me the guy in his 30s or 40s. That's going to be my best salesperson, because he or she is doing both.
Yeah.
They know how to pick up the phone, and they know how to go online and at least be, proactive about it. The problem is that there's not enough blend. There's not enough blend of old and new. The person who's a young person, I don't want to tag anybody as a millennial or a Gen Z, Y, or X. What I want to do is tag them as people, men and women, and tell them that they have to be Googleable, and they have to have a presence in their community or in their industry, that it shows reputation when someone does Google them. So their online presence has a lot to do with their face-to-face presence. And that gets documented. If they give a speech someplace, if they write a book or some kind of white paper, or if they belong to an organization and they're a leader, those things are going to show up on Mother Google. And if you post on LinkedIn, that's going to show up on Mother Google. If you have a Facebook Live video, that's going to show up on Mother Google. And you have to dominate the first few pages of Google in order to be seen as reputable, because, Thor, if I come to visit you, aren't you going to Google me?
Absolutely.
Of course. Everyone Googles everyone. That's part of life's lesson right now. No one uses the Yellow Pages anymore. They use Google. And you have to be Googleable to get into somebody's office. The worst thing you can say when you get into someone's office is, let me tell you a little bit about my business. Like, dude, I already Googled you. That's why I'm allowing you to sit down. Why are you telling me, why are you trying to buy it back? So I think that there's, from a standpoint of young person or old person, I'm going to tell you to do what somebody 40 years to your senior or your junior does. That's probably the best advice I can give you.
Yeah. Stand out. Do what other people are not doing in your space, in your lane.
And when someone does put your name into Google and hit return, they get a response that says, wow, this is someone I really want to meet.
What about speaking? How has that changed over the last 10 years? What's happening? A lot of people listening to this show want to develop themselves as an expert in their particular lane, and speaking is part of that. How has the speaking circuit or the speaking lane changed? I know, first of all, congratulations. I didn't realize that you were an NSA
Hall of Fame speaker. Yes, I am.
Thank you very much.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, well done.
But here's the deal on that. If you don't customize your talk, you're dead. There's no more thing as an after dinner speaker or a motivational speaker. You have to be a germane speaker. You have to be an informative speaker, and you have to be an inspirational speaker, not a motivational speaker. And it's funny that when I look in the National Speakers Association catalog, the biggest biggest category is motivational speaker, and I refuse to put my name there. I don't want to be a motivational speaker. I'll motivate people, but that only lasts for a day or two.
Yeah.
I want to inspire people so they can go home and motivate themselves. That's the key. But the industry has changed in a way that, for the last 10 years, there weren't very many conferences where you could speak. And there was a huge shaking out of the industry. And I had to give customized talks or no one would hire me. And now that the economy is experiencing a sort of a rebound, my reputation has prevailed.
And when you say customized, drill down on that a little bit for us.
Sure. If I'm talking to an industrial supply company, they don't want to hear about life insurance sales in New York City. You have to talk industrial supplies to industrial buyers and how they use it once they own it. And I have to go in not just with information. I try to create ideas for the other person so they can use them and turn them into money.
Just like you did earlier.
Right.
Get $50, $100 bills, bring them out, put them on the table.
Bingo.
It's one of the keys of anyone who works for our company is you've got to be a problem solver. It's one of my top needs in finding people. I'm always looking for people to solve problems. There's plenty of people that want to pontificate about stuff. We actually talked about not even including consultants in our name because what do most consultants do, right? They go in and say, hey, here's a kind of an idea that you guys should implement.
Hi, I'm a consultant.
Right.
Do you have any birthday cakes that I can shit on?
That's right. I'll see you later.
Right.
They don't solve anything. They just kind of give you some ideas, generic ideas.
That's not all consultants. There's a lot of consultants that are really, really good. Yeah. But to say that I'd rather have somebody say I'm a no bullshit consultant. I'm an answers only. I'm a problem solving consultant. Consultant is only part of the word. Yeah. What kind of consultant are you? And when my column first appeared in the Charlotte Business Journal, March the 23rd, 1992, on the 24th, I got a call from a guy because my phone number appeared in my bio. And he said, what kind of consulting do you do? And I said, hands-on, no bullshit. And he said, how soon can you be here? And I said, 20 minutes. And I went to this guy's office and I walked away with a retainer check for $1,000. And I went back to the Business Journal, to the publisher, Mark Etheridge, who's still a good friend of mine, and I showed him the check. And I go, this is what's going to happen in this column. People are going to call me from all over the universe. And they did.
I think you ought to trademark that one right there. Hands-on, no bullshit consulting.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a very small lane.
It's a customized, personalized lane. And because I've been doing that kind of thing for more than 25 years, it is a prerequisite to building any kind of a relationship. Yeah. The more value you provide somebody, the more likely they are to show up and continue to do business with you.
And I think you got to continue to tell them the truth. I find so many people want to hire people that just kind of support them and kind of yes men or yes women. Mm-hmm. I think you've got to have the balls to stand up and tell them like it is, even when it's not what they want to hear.
For their job, though, some people don't want to rock the boat because they don't want to upset the apple cart because they don't want to lose their position.
Then you're not doing your job. If somebody pays you to tell, to advise them, and you tell them a half truth or a watered down version, I think you're doing them a disservice. I think it's stealing.
Yeah, we have very open meetings in our place, as you can imagine. Political correctness is not part of our.
What's that word? I'll have to look that up. Political correctness. I'm not quite sure what the definition of that is.
I don't know. It's like not hurting anybody else's feelings or something. I don't know. But I just grew up in a different era. We weren't politically correct. We pretty much said what we wanted to say. And Northeasterners, come on.
Yeah.
You cold call somebody in New York City, up yours is a greeting. And so I learned very quickly that I had to be able to come to grips with facts and reality in under a minute.
Yeah.
And I got good at it. just like anything else, if you try it enough, you get good at it. And that's where I hang my hat.
Yeah, and I think if you truly care for someone, telling them the truth, even if it's not something that they want to hear, I think is really loving them more so than just, trying to make them feel good at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you also have to have backup. One of the things we talked about at the outset is I have a learning academy, the Gitomer Learning Academy, and I have books and whatever. And people will watch that after my talk is done, or after my interview is done, or after just, to try to hook on to new information that they can use to succeed. And you have to have something when you're done. You can't just say, thanks, it's been real, it's been nice, but it hasn't been real nice. You have to have something that will help them reinforce, because if you're good as a speaker, people want more.
Yeah.
Okay, well, what else you got? Well, I have all kinds of stuff. So I judge by the back of the room if I sell some books, what the level of interest is, and I talk to the decision makers at the company to try to get them to buy longer term answers for their people, not solutions, but answers.
Everybody's interested in success. However, only a few are really committed to it. What's the difference? Those that are committed are willing to do whatever it takes in order to get their outcome, in order to get their goals. If you're not getting the results you need and want, chances are it's accountability. Who's holding you accountable? I've got a challenge for you. For 1 month, 30 days, and $95, our team will hold you accountable for what you said you were going to get done in that month to get your goals, get your outcomes done. If at the end of 30 days you don't like the results or you just didn't like the system, we'll give you your money back. The question is, are you interested or are you committed?
Keep an eye out for part 3 of our interview with Jeffrey, where he tells us how to increase your likability, as well as why your likability is actually more important than trust when it comes to sales. See you next time on Peak Performers Podcast.